So I was really honored. Obviously, the hope now as a Star Wars fan is we'd love to get that action figure. We'd love to see his life continue. We have a little bit of promise in another venue of the Star Wars universe, which is Marvel Comics. And then hopefully we'll circle back around for the show at some time or another. I mean, the beautiful thing is once you're established within the Star Wars universe or your species, sooner or later they end up circling back. I mean, now we're just getting to see the Tusken Raiders and the Squidmen, et cetera, after 40 years. But hopefully we don't have to wait that long to see a little bit more of Gekko or his species in the future there.
Yeah, for sure. And were you a Star Wars fan before you got to work on The Mandalorian?
Absolutely. I was probably the primary reason I got involved in entertainment. In 1980, I was 6 years old, sitting in a packed theater in New York and seeing Empire Strikes Back for the first time. And I was just absolutely blown away. You gotta understand at that time, it's not like this generation now to where there's a ton of incredible content with $100 million budgets and $200 million budgets with cutting edge technology. Lucas was really genuinely ahead of his time, even so much so that sci-fi films before Lucas were kind of corny. They were kind of cheesy. I've done a few of them myself on the Sci-Fi Channel where they don't really have the best budget or using the claymation or just the special effects were kind of cheesy and hokey. So seeing that for the first time when you're 6 years old, and there was sort of a limited amount of entertainment at that time. You know, we had just a limited amount of action figures, the original 12 action figures. The market was not oversaturated with a million different toys. It was really special to us Generation Xers and the boomers as well, just because it was like nothing that we've ever seen before. You combine that with John Williams' music, and it just really obviously was something so special, and obviously something that we're still talking about 40, 45 years later, which I think is a tribute to George Lucas and his entire team there. So without question, a huge Star Wars fan, and actually, I think one of the first collectors within the Star Wars universe. I love the original trilogy figures. I'm actually working on the 1985 Final 17. They are very expensive, but I've kind of caught the bug, and little by little, every couple months or so, I'll end up adding one to my collection there.
Yeah, for sure. And how was it being on, the set of The Mandalorian that day? Did you get to meet, some of the actors? How long, actually I'll say that, but that's a different question. But how was it being on the set that day for The Mandalorian?
You know, I was excited, but I was very anxious as well. The reason being is that I knew how priceless this opportunity was going to be. And I loved the look of this character, not to mention him being a bounty hunter. So my mind really wasn't, I think Yoda would be upset with me in that my mind really wasn't in the moment. I was thinking about the bigger picture of the storyline of Gekko to see maybe perhaps if he's going to continue on through the series, or perhaps if Doug Chiang, who does the most amazing illustrations after every episode of The Mandalorian, if he would catch his eye to where, he wants to continue him on with a comic book, or Marvel, which we're in talks now, and very hopeful for the Marvel series, Star Wars Bounty Hunters.
Wow.
So my mind was just on a million different things in terms of opportunity. I'm sure you're aware that once you are part of the Star Wars universe at a certain level, you're immortalized for the rest of your life. And that's a lot of opportunity for my family and I, and something obviously that was more exciting than just 2 weeks on set. But without question, day one, George Lucas was there, Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, and of course the amazing Deborah Chow, who I believe is heading up the Kenobi series right now. So just a really magical experience. And obviously I wouldn't trade it for the world, but now of course, we're just hoping for the icing on the cake, everything from an action figure to hopefully continuing on his story throughout the years here.
Yeah, for sure. And how many bounty hunters, how many other people do you think were on set playing bounty hunters that day?
There were 24, and again, I mean, they put in a lot of work to them with the makeup, but there was nothing compared to Gekko. I think he did the most elaborate on Gekko. I sound like Donald Trump. It's like a bounty hunter you've never seen before. This is the best bounty hunter in a million years. I've said it. Everyone said it. No, but really, they did an amazing job. 2 hours worth. With the shaved head, I think that was more motivation for him to do a little bit more extensive work on the top of the crown. But also, having experience, being patient, being friendly, having a really nice rapport with him was really, I think, went a long way. And it was just really a stroke of luck, because there were two other options that they were going to have my head and it could have been masked. There were two other options that were masked. And of course, that would have been fun, but nothing compared to literally the eyes of a Star Wars character being your own eyes,
Yeah.
which I think was very, very special there.
Yeah, and so you said you were in the chair for 2 hours getting makeup done?
2 hours to get prepped, and then it took about an hour to get everything off. Unfortunately, it's not one of those things you can just take off like a Halloween mask. You'd rip your scalp out. It was a very, very cautious procedure in order to get me out of there. I did the most hours each day on set that I ever had in my 25-year career, which was great for the bank, of course, just because you get a significant amount of overtime.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, it just was just a dream come true, and long days, very tiring, but also at the same time, I spoke with Alan Austin, who was one of the original stormtroopers from Empire Strikes Back. He also had the privilege to work on Raiders of the Lost Ark, a really nice gentleman over in England. And he said the same, that where it's exciting, but also at the same time, you're going at such a fast clip where usually you're only having 5-6 hours of sleep, that it's really hard to just enjoy every moment because obviously you're on a very pressed schedule there with the hours.
Yeah, for sure. And was the outfit, the costume that you were wearing, was it extremely heavy, or was it pretty light, or how was it?
I would say almost like dressing for a winter. You're going to walk out in the city for a while in January. So it was uncomfortable because basically it was room temperature. So imagine putting a shirt on and then a sweater and then putting on a robe. So it was kind of that sort of thing. And then not to mention, sealing up the top of your head, which is all usually where the heat escapes to act as a cooling system for your body. So it definitely was a little uncomfortable, but also at the same time, again, just loving the look of the character and hoping and believing in his future. We were filled with adrenaline for those 2 weeks.
Yeah, for sure. And so I think you may have mentioned it earlier, but had you seen any pictures, or were you aware of what your character was going to look like before arriving to set, or was it all a surprise when you got there?
It was pretty much a surprise. The reason it was nicknamed Gekko, and now I believe the official name is Gekko, even though Wikipedia kind of has it half Gekko and half unidentified. It was a Greenpeace project that Brian, the prosthetics head, was working on for about maybe 3-4 years prior. And it was a Gekko model. It was like a 110-pound model who looked like a gecko. So initially it was actually going to have bumps like that of a gecko. And I just suggested politely if they can change it to having sort of almost like a Zabrak in a way to where they were kind of like horns. And thankfully he did it, because I thought the bumps kind of looked a little strange on him there. So he adjusted it to it. So no, I was not notified in regards to any of the creative process until day one of the makeup test. And that's where I was brought in front of David and John and Deborah Chow to sort of be approved of his look and his makeup to see if they needed any adjustments. And thankfully, my adjustment was able to get in there briefly. And thankfully it did, because I think he's got a really cool look with the 4 horns there.
Yeah, for sure. So you're in one scene for the thing. I'm pretty sure, and I may be wrong, you're in the scene where the Mandalorians are coming off, like Din Djarin is trying to get to his ship, I believe in the 4th episode. I may be wrong.
Sure. But just like Yak Face and Amon Amon from Return of the Jedi, no, we were lingered throughout episode 1. You could see us there, and then also throughout episode 3, lingering throughout the cantina. And then obviously when the standoff comes in the battle, you can see him as well. So, I always say it would be nothing significant if it wasn't a unique species, if it wasn't a bounty hunter, and if it wasn't the Star Wars universe. But because of that, that's obviously what makes it significant. But no, episode 1 and 3, you can see him throughout that. You just have to keep a keen eye open there.
Yeah, for sure. And so did you take anything home from the set that day, from your time there?
We weren't allowed to. Thankfully, the fans have been absolutely amazing in creating everything from a mini Lego figure to my blaster, identical to my blaster there, to a Funko Pop, even with the box, to a Black Series figure, to a vintage throwback figure. It's just amazing. I have it all sort of canonized and immortalized in this frame behind me. The fans have been absolutely amazing. But no, the Disney rules are you're not supposed to, it's like Fight Club. You can't talk about it, and you certainly can't take anything home. But at the same time, absolutely a priceless experience, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah. And I'm not sure how much you're allowed to say, but when did you go in for recording? How long before it was out?
That was a year prior. It was September of 2018 and October of 2018. So exactly 1 year before they released it. It took that much time. And obviously, as you can see, the quality in every episode, you can see the detail that they add, not only during pre-production, post-production, and also during production. It definitely takes its time, but definitely well worth it, as we can see now, even with season 2. Oh boy, what an amazing episode there with chapter 11.
Yeah, for sure. And I have some questions to ask you about that, which we will get to. A question is, was it extremely hard for you to, keep it in, not tell anyone, being such a big Star Wars fan and getting to see, 3 episodes, right, or 2, around 3 episodes of content, and, you got like a kind of like a spoiler, right? But except you knew everything before the world was going to happen. You knew about Baby Yoda, I believe.
No. Yeah, he kept that secret from second team. I actually thought there was a baby. There was, he was swaddling a baby, Din Djarin, without question. But I thought it was actually going to be a prelude or a story, backstory for Rey, Poe, or Finn, because during the timeline, that's actually when they're babies. So I thought Disney was going to add to the magic of the sequel trilogy by creating sort of an origin of where Rey came from.
Yeah.
Obviously, a completely different story, as we know now.
Yeah, for sure.
But no, I wasn't surprised with that until the episode 1 aired, and seeing it with everybody. But I will say that, well, there's a couple of things. Number one, it's one thing to keep a secret. You have to keep a secret, of course, away from social media, away from the press. It's another thing where, your close friends and relatives, things like that. So I was able to kind of get it out creatively that way. I also confided in a few illustrators and artists to sort of confidentially draw Gekko, and those illustrations stay with me to this day. I had them on tour throughout the whole summer. I was able to support small business all throughout the country, and go ahead and promote the character all throughout the United States, and took some of those illustrations with me to sign. You see them if you Google Gekko the Bounty Hunter, or go to gekkothebountyhunter.com. You can see some of those illustrations. But the other thing is also just respect for the production. I'm just a second team actor. And the one thing is, this is a $100 million budget where you have family members and you have production people and artists and peers that you respect so much. So the last thing that you're going to do is let the cat out of the bag and disrespect all of their work just for being a part of it. So that's also your motivation to sort of keep it silent, because you're hurting the entire franchise, which has meant so much to everybody if you were to let it out. So it wasn't until maybe a month prior to the first episode that all I said was I'm going to be a part of it. And then once the first episode came, then I was starting to be able to drop some of the bombs in terms of the excitement, being on set and such. And again, technically, I mean, you're not even supposed to do that, but also at the same time, everything was just in good spirit and good fun. So thankfully they never reached out to me and gave me a slap on the wrist. So I'm definitely happy about that.
Yeah, amazing. And how was it watching the episode, being able to see yourself in such a well-loved, maybe Disney Star Wars' biggest success, depending if you love the sequels or not. But how was it being able to, watch yourself play, how was it experiencing that for the first time, being able to see yourself, in Star Wars?
It was pretty magical. I mean, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't a little frustrating, because, as you know, in season 1, a lot of the episodes were pretty short. That battle scene could be extended probably an extra 3 to 4 minutes. We were there for an extra day, and there were some shots. I had a couple of illustrators recreate them for me to where I had some better shots there and such. But ultimately, I was pretty satisfied. Of course, again, I think any actor or any fan would want the icing on the cake, to where instead of all the customs that the fans have made for me, you definitely want that official vintage one there in a way. So, or that official LFL, Lucasfilm licensed character. So definitely excited. But like I said, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't slightly disappointed that we didn't get in as one of those rare mail-away figures for The Mandalorian. But who knows? The great thing is these characters come back, and even with the bounty hunters, they became legendary after so many years of Empire Strikes Back. So I'm hoping the same for Gekko there over the years there.
Yeah, for sure. So now I kind of want to talk to you about, this season, The Mandalorian. I kind of wanted to discuss it because I believe I think it was 11 came out yesterday. A couple bombshells, of, Bo-Katan and all the other Mandalorians. How was that? Like, how did you like the episode? Have you liked season 2?
Absolutely amazing. I mean, the visual effects, we were talking online this morning. I mean, it's almost like a major feature film, seeing the descent onto that planet, not to mention the takeoff. And Titus Welliver, who's, just an amazing actor there on his television series, Bosch. He did such an amazing job. Plus, again, the intertwining, which Dave and John do so well. But Dave, of course, with the Clone Wars, and now, of course, leading open to Ahsoka, and hopefully, the origin and figuring out where this child comes from and what his history is and what his story is really going to be special, especially if they start intertwining it with the Jedi. So that's really, really just such an amazing cliffhanger. I thought Bryce Dallas Howard did an absolute amazing job with it.
Yeah,
I'm sure she'll be back for many more episodes and to be a permanent part of the Star Wars universe, with whether she gets her own feature film or whether she gets her own spin-off series with Star Wars in terms of directing. But without question, I think it's absolutely amazing there, and what they're doing with it. And I think it's a story that's been really fun for so many people there.
And are you excited with the return of, Boba Fett? And we got to see Cobb Vanth in the first episode. Are you a Boba Fett fan?
Oh, without question. Anything attached to the original trilogy, I think, is really magical, just because, us Gen Xers specifically, and also the baby boomers, have so much of a long history with wonderment in terms of where these characters come from. The Sand People, Squidman, even Klaatu, or what was it? I forget the bartender's race there. Oh, boy. That's going to kill me now. But, all those people on the skiff from Return of the Jedi, it's just amazing to see kind of either their species move on, to see some of the detail in the story of, oh, wow, so that's why Squidman does this, or that's why the Tusken Raiders had that little pick at the end. Things like that are just so special for those of us who have been around, 40 plus years, not to mention the younger generations as well.
For sure.
And I just love when they bring back in the original trilogy, because it makes it that much more magical for those of us that are over 40 there.
Yeah. And do you have any theories on where the Mandalorian, the next few episodes are going to go? Do you think we'll see Bo-Katan again? Do you think we'll maybe see a siege on Mandalore a bit? What do you think?
I think Disney is definitely in need of a tremendous amount of content, not to mention with COVID. So I think we're going to see a lot of everything, because ultimately I think they're going to in need of probably 2 or 3 more spinoffs of this show. And I think this is always going to be the origin, which I think is going to be pretty special. So I really think that they're going to focus on, maybe Boba Fett's story, as well as maybe even a Bo-Katan series, Ahsoka series. I think they can do a million different things with this in terms of stemming off. But hopefully, like I said, hopefully you'll see Gekko in there sooner or later as well, just to continue on with the series there. Yeah,
for sure. And especially with all the talks of, Filoniverse, as people are saying, having a bunch of new shows of characters from Rebels and from the Clone Wars. I think we're definitely going to see a lot of, our favorite characters come back and for live action, for animated, with a Rebels sequel being rumored. So, that's basically all the questions I have. Where can they find you? Where can people?
Sure. GekkoTheBountyHunter.com. I have hopefully a very, very special announcement, maybe around Christmas or in February, where Gekko will continue on, hopefully through the Marvel comic series, but it is not confirmed yet. But definitely either on Facebook, they have Lair of the Gekko, and then also all throughout social media platforms, which is Dominic Pace. Always appreciate everyone's support, especially the Star Wars community.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for coming on. This has been really amazing. It's been really cool to hear some behind the scenes of The Mandalorian, and I wish you all the best with getting Gekko into Star Wars, the Star Wars future. And I will watch it with interest, and I'm very excited. So thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for taking the time. And
Awesome. Thank you so much, Josh. Have a great day, and my best to all your listeners. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. You too. Okay. See ya. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.